Formula One, and I'm starting to feel like Formula One is I don't understand the rules.
The greatest Formula One champion of all time.
And Formula One is that it's like a traveling circus of speed and adrenaline.
Except I am from Formula.
People know NASCAR, but people don't, because Formula One is like, it's a whole different
Box
thing.
and pick and firm, and welcome to the Redefined podcast, the podcast where we take F1 and put it in American subtitles. I am your host, Frederick Kernigan. Alongside me, as always, my co-host, Michael Zimmerman. And on today's episode, we're going to take all 20 drivers and find their American comparisons. But first, we are watching this the day after the Super Bowl on Valentine's Day, or not watching this, but recording this. And what are your thoughts on the Super Bowl, Timmy? I'll give you your little clip before I say my piece.
Hey, what's up? I thought the Super Bowl was really, really good. I'm glad that it didn't ruin what the playoffs kind of like build it up to, because the playoffs, like this year's playoffs, are definitely like the best playoffs that I've witnessed like since I've been alive. And I was a little worried that the Super Bowl was going to be like kind of like just like kind of like what it usually is, just a big ad for like companies, but they really just went no more good ads, I guess. Like there was no good ads, I felt like, and it was just good football.
What I thought of for the Super Bowl was, I agree, the ads kind of sucked. There's no good commercials, at least none that I can remember. But as far as the football, it's nice to have a, like you said, like a game that capped it off. However, I do think the playoffs were better than the Super Bowl itself.
I agree.
But those games were crazy, so it's kind of hard to top. Yeah. But we are a F1 podcast and not a football podcast. So, all right. Anyways, so we're going to take all 20 drivers and we're going to find who we think is the closest comparison in American terms to them. I'm going to take drivers, the first drivers, and Timmy will take the second drivers. We're going to start off with Mercedes and their leader, Lewis Hamilton, LH44. I'm going to go straight off, and there was two options. There was Tom Brady, and who I ended up choosing, and it ended up being LeBron James. I think LeBron James is Lewis Hamilton, and Lewis Hamilton is LeBron James. They both followed the GOAT to most people. LeBron followed Jordan. Lewis followed Michael Schumacher, as in they played in the next generation. They weren't in the direct competing each other, but they followed each other, and they were always going to be compared to, the other person. LeBron's always going to be compared to Michael. Lewis is also going to be compared to Michael.
Just happens that Michaels are just superior to everyone else.
Secret
we rule
hacks.
The world.
Secret hacks. But yeah, they preceded the GOAT, and then they went in. In my opinion, they surpassed them statistically, anyways. For the case of Lewis and LeBron, I think the only thing LeBron hasn't passed is rings, and that's because it's a team sport at the end of the day. It just so happened that's how the cookie crumbled. What is he, 4-8? Yeah,
I think so. 4-8, 4-7, something like that.
It's crazy that he's even been there that many times, but people will still knock him. He has losses and Jordan doesn't. But
not 6 for 6.
But yeah, they're always gonna be compared to one another. But then Lewis and LeBron, they're also just bigger than their respective sports. LeBron, whether you hate him or love him, the name LeBron James. He was a Vine meme. He's everything. So
Go Tuesday.
Exactly. Like Space Jam. He's bigger than basketball. He's bigger than the NBA.
Yeah, and he's also given back to like so much to his community. He built that whole school for
not IMG. That's the good basketball.
No, I can't.
We Believe, or
I think so. I don't remember exactly the name, but I mean, he's just done so much to help like underappreciated, or what's the word I'm looking for?
Underserved communities.
Yes, yeah. He's just gone above and beyond and helped them as much as he can. So like what you're saying, like they both. And has Lewis done anything like
Lewis
that?
is definitely pushing for change. He has the Hamilton commission, where they're going through and trying to find, or not trying to find, but trying to expand the whole diversity of motorsport, because motorsport is historically a rich old white man sport. Yep. And so we're trying to expand, or not we're trying to, but Lewis and his company and his group, they're trying to expand it to all races, gender identities, whatever it may be. He's trying to expand the sport of motorsport because it is a great sport and everyone deserves a chance, not just the rich people. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
But yeah, who do you have as his partners comparison? George Russell.
So George Russell, I went with a young Chris Paul. So this is kind of like Chris Paul when he was on the Hornets, transitioning into the Clippers, because so he had his rookie contract and his second contract, similar to like George Russell with Williams, and the Hornets and Williams at the time both
pretty bad.
Yeah, just bad franchises. And with George Russell, like last year, everyone's like, get him out of Williams, get him in a Mercedes car, like
please, dear God.
Yeah, like the whole community is like, get this man like on an even playing field so we can see what he can do. And that was kind of like the same with Chris Paul coming out of the Hornets. It's either like you need to like the front office needs to like build around this guy, get him help, or get him out of here. Like so they were able to ship him off to the Clippers, which would eventually become
Lob City.
Lob City, yep, with Blake and I forgot the
DeAndre Jordan.
Yep, DeAndre Jordan. Just crazy excitement around the Clippers, who been second fiddle to the Lakers for all the years. Even though they weren't able to like get to the top or like reach get a
the
championship
pinnacle,
or everything, they're still able to kind of like show up and kind of like take it,
compete.
Yeah,
they were relevant again.
Yeah, so I feel like Chris Paul in that time of his career and like George Russell now, very similar, where they're getting on new teams.
There was go ahead.
And it's like, I was just going to continue. It's like people they're really excited to see what they can do with the new team and like just being on like an even playing field and being able to compete.
It's like they both have, I don't want to say social media following because there wasn't really social media when CP3 was going to, or there was social media, but not as big as it is today. But they both had a following, whether you were a fan of the Clippers or a fan of the CP3 himself, you wanted to, you're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him on a good team. Just like how F1 fans are like, even if you weren't a Mercedes guy or not a George or not a Williams dude, you're like, I want him. I like his story. I want him to succeed. I want to see him in a, comparative machinery.
Yeah. I mean, well, yeah, Chris Paul is a 4-time All-Stars in his first 6 years at the Hornets. It's like, so if you watch basketball, you're like, we need, like, I want to see more of this young star. I want to see more of this like talented player. So same with George.
All right. Onto the Red Bull pairing. We have Max Supermax Verstappen. I got Patrick Mahomes as his American comp. Immediately, I think it's just safe to say that they're both certified superstars at this point. The transition from like young prospect to superstar was very like smooth for them. No, like, is he like the future? It is very smooth for them. However, it did take a little bit for both of them. Patrick sat behind Alex Smith, and when he was killing the Chargers, and then Patrick came out, and then he started killing the Charger. It's just like how Max, he started off slow with Toro Rosso, and then ended up working his way up to Red Bull. And even when he got into Red Bull, it wasn't immediate. He was number one driver. It was, I have to work through Danny Rick, and then Danny Rick came. Or not Danny Rick came, he was already there. Danny Rick ended up leaving, and then he had to very much establish his place as the number one driver, because he finally he got the moniker, but he needed to like solidify his roots. And so it took a little bit for both of them to really start that whole process. But now you look at their teams, and they're built for Patrick Mahomes. They're built for Max Verstappen. that car is, it was suited to the way Max drove or drives. The offense is suited for Patrick Mahomes, just athleticism.
Yep. Got him the weapons.
Yeah.
To allow him just to chuck it deep and run around and hope that they get open and stuff.
It's kind of just watching poetry in motion when you watch them. As much as as a Chargers fan, I hate the Chiefs. I really do. I hate them with all of me, but I will respect them and what they do. They can literally in 3 plays be down in the red zone. Max Verstappen can just pull together a crazy qualifying lap. It's just art. And I think the last point to like solidify that they're the same is they're the next face. I think it's safe to say F1 is pushing Max as the next face because Lewis's time in the sun is eventually going to run out, and then they're going to need a new face. And Max seems to be the one stepping up, purely because he's, I guess, the only one who's really competed with Lewis. And then Patrick Mahomes, he already took on Tom. Who did he beat in the Super Bowl?
He beat the 49ers.
Oh, okay. So he
beat Jimmy G.
Yeah, he beat Discount Tom.
Yeah.
No, but Patrick Mahomes, I think it's safe to say he's the NFL's golden child right now.
Yeah, 100%. Definitely the next face of the franchise or the league.
Mm-hmm. Who do you got as Max's partners comp?
So for Sergio Perez or Checo, I got Brandon Marshall. So we went with Brandon Marshall because they're like Checo. They're both like journeymen. Brandon Marshall played for, I believe, 4 teams. So both of them kind of showed promise in their early years. Marshall played on the Dolphins. No, wait, that was his second team. He was drafted by the Broncos.
Yes, he was drafted by the
Broncos. And Checo, he started with
BMW Sauber.
So both showed promise there, but their careers kind of not really take off, but like they definitely took the next step with their no. The hype train got derailed on their second team because Checo went to
he ended up getting a drive with McLaren.
Yeah, and with McLaren, years not very good. Or didn't meet the expectations.
The car wasn't there for sure.
Yeah. And similar to Brandon Marshall, is he went to the Dolphins, and you'd probably say the team wasn't really there.
The team wasn't there, no.
At the time. But then they were able to kind of have like a resurgence in their career when they got onto their third team. With Checo, it was I think it was Force India at the time.
Yep.
And then they got rebranded, all that other stuff.
Pink Team 1.
Yeah, the pink racing team back in the 2010s.
Their first iteration.
Yeah. And then for Brandon Marshall is with Chicago Bears, and when he met up with he got reconnected with Jay Cutler, and his career kind of just got resurged by that. I think he had a couple of 1,000 yards receiving seasons there. The difference is Checo is still kind of like he's still a good driver. Like he's able to, like, he's real savvy on the racetrack. He's real like intelligent with his tire management, and that's like how he's able to stay in races and actually win some races if like things go his way. Mm-hmm. Brandon Marshall, just the nature of the beast of football, he just got older and just kind of like faded out. So Checo's kind of having a longer season, but I mean for the beginning part, their careers are pretty parallel with how much teams they like were on how many different teams they were, and then how on different teams they like kind of dipped and then came back up.
I remember Brandon Marshall on the Broncos. He was he always caused us problems, but not to the point of how the Chiefs were or Chiefs do now.
Yeah.
we could control Brandon Marshall every so often. We can't control the Chiefs team.
Yeah, and I was very fond of Brandon Marshall when he was playing for us for the Chicago Bears. Had good years with him and Jay Cutler. Unfortunately, our front office kind of failed those guys. But
That combo just worked.
I digress. I won't get into
it. All right. On to the Ferrari boys.
The red team.
Exactly. We got Charles Leclerc. I got him compared to Lamar Jackson.
LJ.
Yeah, Lamarvelous. It's safe to say, if you ask any Ravens fan, I guess before he got hurt and the whole who's their backup now that kind of went off?
Lamar.
Yeah, Lamar before. If you ask
Marvel, no, not Humphrey. Dang, I can't remember his name.
Tyler
Higbee?
No, Tyler Higbee's the tight end.
Hold on.
Huntley.
Tyler Huntley. Yeah.
There you go. Tyler. It's
I can't believe it's not Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. I can't believe it's not Lamar Jackson. If you were to ask any Ravens fan before this season who is the face of your franchise, they would say Lamar.
I mean, it still is.
Yeah, but I have a surprising amount of like Ravens fans as like friends and for like followers on Twitter, and so I would see a couple of them tweet about how is Lamar the guy, because this Huntley guy is doing the same thing, or like kind of, I don't know, keeping him in. But
no.
I'm not a Ravens fan, so it doesn't really matter to me.
As a football fan, it's Lamar over. I can't believe it's Lamar. It's like it's real butter versus it can't believe it's not real butter.
Margarine, like, exactly.
Come on.
No, but yeah, so it's the same thing for Ferrari. If you were to ask who's the face of Ferrari, it would be Charles Leclerc. He got the contract over Seb. He ended up getting the very long contract, and Ferrari just built that team around like him. They're even funding his brother. I don't think it's going to be like the Schumacher type deal where it's that direct, but I think they are helping. I think his name is Arthur Leclerc, get through the ranks. But they're both the face of the franchise. They've both had success, but hasn't been the success that either them or their like respective franchise quite imagined or like is satisfied with, because the Ravens, they've gone to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
They have one win.
Yeah, Lamar has one win.
Exactly. Charles Leclerc has, I think, 2 wins as a Ferrari driver, and that was his rookie year.
Yeah,
this is year 3 or year 4 now, I think, and so it's they've had the success, but just like taste of it, mm-hmm. and they're wanting to take the next step. And then you could even say that they both replaced the old vet before them who couldn't like do it, because Lamar Jackson came in and took over Joey Flax. Joe Flacco's took the reins over from him, and Seb, he kind of got snaked out by Ferrari in a way, but I think Charles like thoroughly showed that he is the future for Ferrari. So I don't think anyone is going to fault them for making the choice. I think they'll fault Ferrari for the way they did it. Mm-hmm. But they did end up choosing the younger, the quote unquote future in both Lamar and Charles. Who do you have as Carlos Sainz American comp?
So for Carlos Sainz, I went with Brandon Cooks. So with Cooks and Carlos, they both have like kind of decent careers, but definitely like trending outwards in like the last couple of seasons. Cooks kind of been always dealing with injuries, unfortunately, but like when he's healthy, he's been balling out. Yes. Cooks had some injuries in the past, and I didn't really hear of him. I had no idea he was on the Texans this year, the Houston Texans.
Wait, what? He still plays?
Yeah, that's what I thought. He's only been in the league for 6 seasons, and like he was on Houston. I was like, what the hell? When I was like looking it up, and he's still balled out. Like he's still putting up crazy. Like I think he had almost 1,000, if not over 1,000 this year receiving. So it's just like he's been on multiple teams. Same with Carlos. They both been on multiple teams, and it seems like whatever team they go on, they just get better with them on it. Mm-hmm. He was on the Patriots when they went to the playoffs, and then he got knocked out
In the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, in the Super. That's who he was playing against. The Eagles. He got killed.
I
in the
remember that
first
play.
quarter.
He tried to get fancy with it, and then he just came back and met a linebacker. Yeah.
Yeah. Then he was out for it. He was on the Rams for a little bit.
He was on the Saints, right?
Yeah, I think he was drafted in started his
Orleans.
career in New Orleans. Went to New England. Then he went to the Rams, helped them out. He was a great pairing with Cooper Kupp, but I think he definitely was dealing with injuries there. But like for both of them, like Brandon and Carlos, I feel like they don't really get the respect that they deserve for like the production and like what they like do like on either the track or the field. So that's kind of like similar in that aspect. And then they're both just like they're very adaptable. Like it's just what you have to be if you're like a journeyman or if you're just jumping from team to team. Brandon Cooks, dude, he was in 4 different offenses in 5 years, and like his first 5 years in the league. Like that's just crazy. And he's still producing either close to 1,000, over 1,000 yards every year. So it's just like that man is able to adapt and do whatever he needed to do to make the team better. And definitely kind of feel the same way with Carlos. He was on McLaren for a little bit.
He started his career at Toro Rosso, went to
Rosso.
Renault, and then went to McLaren, and then ended up with Ferrari now.
Yeah. So 4 different teams in his career. It's kind of more common in F1 to kind of go on different teams, but
yeah,
it's kind of the nature of the beast.
However, it is common to change teams. Like I know everyone like praises Kobe for staying with the Lakers for 20 years, but that in itself is rare, like as well. So in F1, it's not super crazy for someone to leave their teams. Like I guarantee you Max Verstappen will not forever be a Red Bull boy.
Mm-hmm.
He'll somehow at the end of his career end up somewhere else. That's just the nature of the beast. However, the fact that he has been on 4 teams and 4 teams have had the chance or have had the trust in him to sign him is a testament to how adaptable he is. Because they're taking a chance on this young guy. They can see that he has it there, and they're trusting their machinery in his hands, and he's performed to the point where he's just continually putting himself in a better position. And going back to the point you said, how they don't get the respect. I think that's very apparent when you start asking other fans. If you were to ask who's I guess top 5 drivers in F1 today to most F1 fans, you'll get your Max, Lewis, Charles, Lando, and then you might get Carlos, depending on who you ask, if they're a Carlos person or not, or whatnot. But same thing if you ask top 5 receivers in the NFL, I've never once heard Brandon Cooks get brought up in like football talk, locker room talk, and like as top 5.
I don't think he is top 5, but like you can make an argument for maybe top 10 receiver. But like he's definitely like
exactly like Carlos.
Yeah,
you can make an argument for maybe 6, 7, just like how Brandon Cooks, his magic years or his most productive years, he wasn't better than DeAndre Hopkins, or if I'm pretty sure they played simultaneously or whatnot, or Michael Thomas. Yeah. So he was never the top tier, but I guess no one ever threw like straight up dirt on their names.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right, next we're on to McLaren. We have their first. I think it's safe to say Lando's the number 1 driver, so I went ahead and assigned Lando to myself, and I got a comparison that's really close to home. Justin J. Herbert. He's the young face of the franchise. It's a good looking face. That man's the face of the NFL next, baby.
Whoa. He's got to beat the Chiefs. Come on now.
He's gonna take him down first, anyways. Right. But they're both on their original teams that they signed with. Lando was brought into F1 by McLaren. Chargers that just ended their second year with Justin. They haven't had any of the wins yet. This past season, Lando had his closest chance to get a win. That ended up in a tire change debacle. And then Justin had his closest chance, I guess, a quote unquote win would be getting into the playoffs. But we couldn't get a tie or
But a coach
beat
called a
the
timeout.
Raiders.
Someone had to call a timeout when they're going for a tie. Just like Lando just had to stay out on the wet track when he could have. I saw a clip on TikTok of that race because I guess I missed it. That or I either like slept through it or I fast forward through it. And I saw a clip. It's like, are you good? Are you good? It's like, yes, I'm fine. And then like the next quarter, just crash.
So people like giving like reminding Lando that he did that. But there's also another clip, if you go and look at that race, Lance Stroll got asked the same question. As it's raining, they're like, are you okay on inters? Pause. Yes. Immediately crashed into the wall.
I was like, man, come on. If it's raining, you got to put on those rain tires. Or
Yeah,
they're
the
called.
intermediates. Well, but yeah, Justin Herbert and the Chargers haven't had any of the wins they wanted. Neither have Lando or McLaren. Danny Rick has a win though. Anyways, but they're both ready for their I guess they're both ready to take that next step and to say that I have arrived. Lando is looking to get his first win, and I feel like once he gets his first win, it's gonna lift the monkey off his back, and it's just gonna come. It's just gonna start coming. But he has to get the first one, just like how I feel, or at least I hope. Once Jay Herbo gets his first playoff win, it just never stops. But I think they're both primed and ready for that quote unquote, I have arrived, I am the dude now type of year. And so here's to the future for both.
Yep.
Who do you have as Daniel Ricciardo's comp?
So Mr. Ricardo, Mr. Nice Guy, the ladies' man himself, going with the NFL's ladies' man. Well, I guess I didn't know he had a wife or a girlfriend.
Recent, yes. Within the last year, they got together, and
okay.
I don't know if they got together, but I know they have a child on the way.
Yeah. So former's ladies' man, Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, just won his first Super Bowl ring yesterday. So reason why I went with them is they both had like a lot of like success with their original team, or the team that they started off with Daniel. It was with Red Bull, who was kind of like, I believe correct me if I'm wrong, but he was kind of like at that time, like kind of seen to be like the future for Red Bull.
Yeah, he was their most promising prospect at the time because he came up, beat Seb after Seb had a year after winning the championship. He then was partnered up with Rick, and then Danny Rick ended up taking the spot. I think he beat him in their first season head to head, and then that just swished Seb into Ferrari. But yeah, anyways.
Yeah, and I mean, that was kind of similar to OBJ when he joined the Giants. He was kind of like the second receiver behind Victor Cruz, who was kind of like in his twilight years. And then OBJ just kind of rookie year just took off, made the incredible one-handed three-finger catch behind his head. That definitely like just shot him up into freedom.
The fact that people debate if that's the greatest catch blows my mind.
Without a doubt, like maybe obviously not the most impactful catch because it's been a regular season, but the greatest catch, like he caught it with three fingers, like parallel to the ground behind his head.
He really, like Drake said, reached back like 1-3, like 1-3. He reached
like
back.
That's the great, in my opinion, the greatest catch. Yes, you have the Giants helmet catch, but I feel like that's kind of like maybe luck. The most. It's a little bit of luck, but it's also like I feel like that's like maybe the most significant. You also have Edelman catch against the Falcons.
When he swooped it up,
dude, that catch was crazy. I mean, there's been amazing catches, but three fingers behind your head. It doesn't matter how many times you try to redo that.
And got PI'd.
And he got held there.
Yeah.
Like you can try to recreate that play billions times. No one's gonna do that.
That's the type of play when you're a kid and you have like one of those like little foam balls and you're just like in your like imaginary world. That's the kind of catch you dream of making.
Try to do.
You're that's like, I'm gonna lean back because I know if I fall down, I'll land on this soft bed. OBJ was like, I'm just gonna lean back and catch this ball and land in the end zone.
But and like it created a whole trend of one-handed catches. Like even just like other NFL receivers, they're like, whoa, I can do one-handed catches. And it's just like, come on, bro, just use two. You got two hands. Use both of them. You ain't OBJ.
We talking about this. We didn't put this in the notes, but I think that's crazy because OBJ is like known as one. You know, the guy goes with the crazy one-hand catches. Danny Rick is known as the last of the late breakers. And so it's cool that they're known as like that's their thing.
Yeah.
OBJ, I think he made another crazy one-handed catch, but this is when he's on the Browns.
He has a ton of one-handed catches.
Just like how Danny Rick has crazy like overtakes because man just says I'm gonna press on the brakes hella late.
Yeah, true. And then both of them are now on their third team, kind of like making a comeback with like Odell just, like I said, won the Super Bowl with the Rams. Unfortunately, he did. I hope it wasn't a torn ACL, but
I think it's confirmed already.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, non-contact, that's just kind of typically what happens. So unfortunate that he had to go down that way. Yeah, no, should have been on grass. But that's a different discussion, podcast. But Daniel Ricciardo, he's on his third team. He started in Red Bull, unfortunately got replaced by Max, and then went to Renault. Or is it Renault? Renault. That car was that car was so bad.
It was indeed bad. He went and had the second year. So I think last episode we were talking about if we think Danny Rick is going to have a bounce back here, and if history tends to repeat itself, and I think it will, because in Renault he had his first year wasn't the greatest. It was kind of mid. He kind of like really fell off. But the second year, you notice that he's fighting again.
Yeah,
like up there. So hopefully history repeats itself and Danny Rick, bounces back even crazier this year. Now with a car that can actually win.
Yeah. So I feel like the F1 communities all like for the most part, it's like are big Daniel Ricciardo fans. So everyone's kind of hoping that we can see him out there competing and doing those crazy overtakes that we got kind of accustomed to watching him do. And with the McLaren car that's so fast on the straights last year, I feel like it's a good match for him where he can kind of use his advantage of braking late and doing those overtakes. So hopefully he's out there competing.
If anyone does get a boost from the new regs and the change of the cars, how everyone's saying that we can, or the cars can race closer together now. If anyone's gonna benefit from this, I feel like it's Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
Because now he will that not tenth of a second, but that thousandth of a second that he'll need to just be that little bit closer. It'll be more realistic for him to have that because the cars this year have changed. They're no longer big boxy like air machines that mess with the air behind them. They're once again racing machines. Yeah. But that's for a later episode. We are now on to Alpine, and we're going to start off with, once again, I feel like it's safe to say that this driver is number one, and that's Fernando. It's kind of weird. We had mentioned in episode 1 that their driver situation is a little weird. But Fernando, I think his American comp would probably be Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice is on the Raiders. I know
old Jerry Rice.
Yes, Jerry Rice. Yes.
So way past his prime. Like, how the hell are you still?
No. You say that. No, you say that. You say that.
Yeah.
He in 4 years or 3 years with the Raiders, he had 2 over 1,000-yard receiving years.
Yeah, well, I know, but Jerry Rice is crazy. But it's like, man, how is this 40-year-old man still burning people and like making these, like, just doing this? Like,
you know who that sounds like? How is this 100-year-old Spanish man overtaking these young dudes? It's
but seriously, how old is Fernando? Like,
great question.
Seriously,
let me look it up.
Because Jerry was him and Tom are him, Tom, and Brett Favre are the only three 40-year-old NFL players with receiving yards. Him and Tom are the only one with positive yards. Brett Favre has negative receiving yards.
Fernando Alonso is the ripe age of 40.
Damn.
He is 40 years old. He is the oldest.
Holy crap.
Compared to the youngest, Yuki Tsunoda, who was born in the year 2000.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So he's like 20 years older than that. He's twice as old as him.
He could be racing his child, but he's not. But yeah, no. You ask anyone who knows football and they know receivers, Jerry Rice is a name they throw in for one of the greats. You ask anyone who knows F1, you ask who's one of the greats, Fernando Alonso's up there. Whether you like him or don't, because I know some people are against Fernando because of his spicy ethics. Not like on track, but more like off track. People dock him for being so blunt, I guess, because he straight up called the Honda engine when they were with McLaren a GP2 engine, like on team radio, televised. So he's not the most
savage,
subtle character.
Calls it how it is. I like it.
But that's why some people dock him. But hate him or love him, he's still one of the greats. So they both had success early in their careers. Jerry Rice with the Niners, winning everything. From MVPs to, first Super Bowls to first teams, all pros and whatnot. He literally won everything. Fernando Alonso won everything, drivers, constructors with Renault back to back. And I don't know if they won the constructors actually, but I know they won. His 2 titles are back to back. He beat Michael Schumacher, kind of like ended Michael or Schumi's like realistic chances of like getting another one. But then later in their career, they're just known for being consistent and just being still like performing at an old age, because Jerry Rice went to the Raiders, like I said earlier, and had those 2,000+ yard receiving seasons. Fernando, no one was really expecting him to be as good as he was this year. Took him a little bit to get there, to get warmed up, but once he caught his stride, he fell right back into place, and reminded everyone that he is Fernando.
He's 40. Can you blame him for taking a little bit to warm up? Come on now. You gotta do a little extra stretching that these young bucks don't have to do.
But I think I'm not well versed on the way Jerry Rice went out, but I remember it somehow intertwining with Terrell Owens. Oh, that was his exit out of San Fran. Never mind. But yeah, like just the ending of his career. I think he probably overstayed his season or his career one too many seasons, because his last season, I think it was just riddled with injury, not very productive. And so hopefully Fernando doesn't go out like some of these legends where their last year they're just around for a little too long and kind of not tarnish their legacy, but kind of just water it down a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll let you go ahead and take the next one.
So for Esteban,
the name's hard, bro.
Esteban, dude, what the say it.
Do you want me to cue you in?
Well, no. Just say it.
Esteban Ocon.
Esteban. Break it down for me, bro.
Esteban.
Damn, dude, this S and B's throwing me off.
Who do you have as Esteban Ocon's comparison to me?
So for Ocon's,
there you go.
I can't say this man's first name.
No,
I'm dyslexic.
Esteban.
No, see, that's my best. That's my best attempt. There you go. You can keep that. I'm going with Teddy Bridgewater or Teddy B. Just kind of for the reasons that they both had promising starts. Teddy was drafted with the Vikings and was kind of gonna be like the franchise quarterback until unfortunately he got hurt and injuries kind of derailed his whole career. With Ocon, it's like he didn't get injured or anything, but his hype train or like progress got derailed because someone's dad bought the team and someone's son took his spot. So he kind of got like shown the door, and he took a year off because I think by the time
Involuntarily took
yeah yeah well, because by the time like he got replaced, all the seats were already like locked up, so it's like, and so he was like, well dang, I guess I'll just take this year off and hope that some team
something opens up next
year. Yeah. And like for both of them, they're not like superstars, they're not like amazing, but like them, they're above, like Teddy B's the epitome of like an average quarterback. Like I think it was like 2019 or 2020, like his stats were literally average of everything. It was crazy. So
but
I feel like Ocon's like kind of the same thing, where he's like not terrible, not like, but he's not gonna like blow you away.
They both had their time in the sun though, because Esteban got his inaugural win, his first win out of the way this year.
Yep.
Granted, that race was crazy.
That race was crazy.
But Teddy B had a run in the playoffs, right, with the Vikings.
Yeah, I think that's when he got hurt. It was in the playoffs.
Yeah, so they both had their little moments in the sun. Granted, Esteban's was a little more like, it's a little brighter, because I think equivalent of like a win in F1 would be a conference dub, or what's the second round of the playoffs?
Divisional.
Yeah, I think it'd be a divisional like dub.
Yeah,
but I would agree. Teddy B is pretty average. Like when he was going around, like when he was coming back off injury, and everyone was like, "Oh, what team is he going to sign for?" I didn't realize that there was such a market for him. Just like how I didn't realize there was such a market for Ocon. So it's just they're the same person. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and just a little side note, little cool fun fact, if you want to talk about F1 with other people. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're both, and like with Teddy B, it's like they're both kind of like a part of like average or like below average class. Like, or Teddy B was like the quarterback. I mean, his quarterback class was Blake Bortles, Jimmy G, Johnny Manziel, and then like Derek Carr. And then Ocon came in with
Esteban Ocon made his debut 2016. Other drivers that made their debut around the same time: Rio Hironato, Pascal Wehrlein, who's currently leading the Formula E championship right now, Jolyon Palmer, who is a host for F1 TV, and Stoffel Van Dorn, who if you know F1, Fernando Alonso bullied him out of F1 basically. so yeah, he kind of got him brought in with like mid people, but then he also I guess you would say he's in the same class right now as Lance Stroll, Pierre Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi. So yeah, very, very mediocre driver class.
And you can probably argue that both him and Teddy B are like in the middle of the classes that they came in with.
Yeah, because I would say Ocon is better than, Ocon is better than Antonio. Ocon still has a seat, Antonio doesn't. And I no knock on Antonio, but I don't think he's getting back into F1. I think the seats are just, the sport's past him, because there's the names coming up, and then you still have the names floating around in the paddock. So I think his time in F1's done. But yeah, I think he is very much in the middle.
Yeah.
Next we have the first driver for AlphaTauri, who was it Pierre who gave us the hardest?
Pierre was one of the hardest ones.
Yeah, Pierre is pretty hard. But we ended up choosing Baker Mayfield, the quarterback for the Browns, and purely for two reasons. First, they're both acknowledged as being very talented individuals. No one's going to say Baker can't win a game or can't, have a winning season. Just like
some will, but there's haters.
Just like how Pierre, you have everyone's saying that he is not leading the midfield, but he's up there in the midfield. And so he has the talent to fight with the big dogs, but can he, if given the team? And so it's can they carry their team to the next step is their first knock. And then their second knock being, what is their future with said team? Because Pierre, his it's weird because no one's expecting him to carry AlphaTauri to the next step because that's not their purpose. AlphaTauri isn't meant to win the championship. Sorry to break it to you, AlphaTauri fans. You're not going to win the drivers. But so it's a little different. But the question with Pierre is, once he does get a team, or if he ever does get a team, could he carry them to the next step? Because he's not going to go to like an immediate contender. He's going to go to a team that needs their lead driver. And once he gets that role, can he do it? Just like how everyone's questioning if Baker can lead his team past just first round exits, second round exits. And then even like going a step further past that, everyone wants to know what is Pierre's plans after he has this last season with AlphaTauri. Does he stick within the Red Bull family, or does he go and test the waters of free agency? Baker's a free agent coming up. Or no, not a free agent. He has a year.
Well, they didn't come to agreement to an extension. So I think he has one more year for his rookie contract.
So,
then,
but his career situation right now is still up in the air as far as long-term future goes.
Yeah, there's definitely rumors and talks about whether the Browns either stick with him and extend him, or they look into the draft and possibly get his replacement.
Yeah, but that's really all it came down to me for, because we couldn't find another player from or in any other league that was yanked.
Yeah.
And he came back and had a resurgence. So I couldn't think of one. Timmy couldn't think of one. So we had to go on the side of Pierre that was purely what is future Pierre going to be? Just like how everyone is, what is future Baker going to be? Is future Baker going to be Super Bowl winning quarterback for the Browns? Or is he going to be journeyman NFL? Yeah. But for his teammate, other side of the spectrum, Yuki Tsunoda, who you got as his American comp.
So for Yuki, I went with Kobe White. He's a shooting guard for the Chicago Bulls. And I went with Kobe White because, like Yuki, they kind of had success in their early careers. Yuki like kind of flew through F3 and F2, going faster than like what it usually takes for drivers.
Because he spent a year, only like 1 year. Yep.
Spent only 1 year in those like respected leagues. And Kobe White, he's number 3 shooting guard coming out of high school, 25 nationally ranked. He went to UCNC and it was a one and done, got drafted 7th overall by the Bulls. So it's like that's like the fastest you can go in basketball, is being a one and done. But they both kind of like haven't met the expectations of what they thought they're going to be. With White, there's rumors before the trade deadline that he was going to get traded for assets. The Bulls are sticking with him, but he's still like kind of like on a hot seat per se, because they just have so many like other guards. So it's still possible that the Chicago Bulls end up trading him in the offseason for either a different player or like draft picks. And Yuki's kind of like in the same situation where he's kind of like on the hot seat and has the if he doesn't perform this season, he's probably going to lose his seat on the team. And I'm not sure exactly if he's going to go back.
So with AlphaTauri's seat being such a hot commodity in the F1 world, Red Bull has a bunch of like killers lined up in their pen. They have Liam Lawson, who is a quick Kiwi from New Zealand. I'm blanking on the other names right now, but they just have a whole, like, they're known for having a pen of just like savages.
Mm-hmm.
And so if Yuki does keep screwing up and does keep dropping the ball, I wouldn't be surprised if Helmut Marko does some Helmut Marko-ish, and we see a new driver, a new partner for Pierre midway through the season, 2/3 down the season, if he is struggling, but we'll have to see how the season plays out. I could be saying this now, and all of a sudden Yuki's competing for fifth in the drivers.
Yeah, could be eating your words.
Yeah, exactly.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that. That kind of even makes them even closer to Kobe White, because they just have they have more better shooting guards. And well, I mean, because White has the potential to be good. He's like a 3-point
I like his hair
shooter. Yeah. And it's but he hasn't been shooting well. He's on and off. He's very hot and cold. He's either hitting everything, or he's not
a streaky
hitting
player.
anything. Yeah. So that's why he was there's rumors and talks about him possibly being traded. But I mean, the Chicago Bulls are sticking to their guns, and they think that they got the players when healthy to go compete for a championship. So hopefully he gets hot at the right time and can stay on the Bulls.
Hopefully, unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately or not, but F1 does not have trades. Hey, Toto.
That'd be wild.
I'm going to bundle Lando Norris, a front wing, and 200,000 pounds, right? That's what British people use, pounds?
Yeah,
yes.
pounds.
Yeah, 200,000 pounds. All of that for George Russell. God damn it, you got a deal.
That'd be crazy.
That would be crazy.
Trades in F1. Give me my 2 back wheels.
Anyways, on to Aston Martin now. We went with Sebastian Vettel as a number 1 driver because we felt like he was the better driver.
Yeah.
But anyways, he his American comparison to me would be Joe Montana. Both of them had early success in their careers. Joe with the Niners, Seb with Red Bull. Seb ended up winning 4 titles back to back. He had the whole F1 world by the chokehold, in a chokehold. Joe Montana, same thing. He took the NFL by storm. Him and the Niners and the West Coast offense just reinvented football, and they just did crazy things.
Yeah.
That, granted, it started off with a lucky tight end catch, I guess you would say, right, to Dallas Clark. That's what kicked off their whole dynasty.
Lucky. It was against the Cowboys, so it was well deserved.
I agree.
But he also won 4 Super Bowls, right?
Did he? I'm not well versed on Joe Montana, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure Joe. I'll look it up. I'm pretty sure he has 4 Super Bowls, so that's pretty cool that they also have the same amount of championships.
But after they had won all the championships with the first teams, they ended up, going through a little bit of a goodbye process, and they ended up having to change teams. I think Joe went directly to the Chiefs, and Seb had to, he took a stop at Ferrari, and now he's at Aston Martin. But they both started over with questions on if they can still perform, because Joe Montana ended up being not let go, but what's his name? Steve Young kind of came in.
He got replaced by a younger.
Yeah, just like how Seb got replaced by a younger driver in Charles. But once they got to their final team, hopefully this isn't Seb's final team. I hope he has a long career, or a little bit longer of a career. But once they got to their quote unquote last team, they still went on and performed, and did well. And if you ask any fan, just like the Fernando and Jerry Rice comparison, if they're one of the best to do it, Seb's one of the best to do it. Joe Montana's one of the best to do it. End of question. There isn't really much to say. Seb, even to this day, Seb's a young racer at heart. Joe Montana, sure can still throw a dot.
Yeah. I mean, you don't win 4 championships and just by pure luck.
Who do you have as Sir Lancelot's comparison?
Daddy's son.
Yeah.
So because because we say he's daddy's son, we had to try and find a coach's or a front office son. And there's only one person that came to mind, and it was Austin Rivers, who got traded to the Clippers when Doc Rivers was the coach. And at the time, just reading like articles that were posted at the time, the writers, the sports writers did not like the trade whatsoever. They're like, what the heck? Why they're only trading because he's like Doc Rivers' son. And I feel like, well, I mean, that's how kind of like Fred feels like, I think, and maybe some people in the community, F1 community, of how Lance only has his seat because his dad's the owner.
So I was thinking about this a couple days ago. What happens if, I don't think this will be the case, but what honestly does happen if they do suddenly have the car to compete? Like, say if they start putting cars like on poles or seconds, thirds, even like on like qualifying days, but then there aren't any results because Lance keeps crashing, and if Seb goes on a decline, he's not going to be able to carry the team. And so it will, my question, or I guess like my whole thought process is, what if it does come down to like specifically Lance? What does his dad do? Like, does Lawrence go and have breakfast with his son and be like, Lance, I need you to sit down. Seb is trying his best, but he is ancient. The car is there, son. I need you to show up.
Yeah.
What does Lance do? Like, does Lance be like, no, Dad, I can do it. Believe in me, please. Or does he just continually just get the free drive because his dad's the owner? And so I really am interested to see if that like situation, if they do bad, if he does get let go. But in order for that to happen, I'd have to wish for them to do good. And I don't want Aston Martin to do good. Like, I'm not against Aston Martin anyway, or so, but the way they did Checo to me is dirty. So I'm not for Aston Martin. I'm for Seb.
Yeah. And
so, yeah, just a quick little paradox that I think needs to be talked about more in F1.
Yeah. And that's really the only comparison we have with
Austin. They're pretty mid, and they're the sons of team figures. But we have, for the comparison of Nicholas Latifi, we have him compared to Drew Lock, the quarterback of the Broncos. Nicholas Latifi, you know, if you're a Max fan, you owe him the world, because he crashed and gave us a chance. All we needed.
But anyway, a miracle, and he was the miracle.
He was the miracle. So Nicholas Latifi is pretty decent. He's not terrible. His situation hasn't been the greatest. You know, he's stuck in Williams. They are what they are. They had their crap years, and now they're on the bounce back. So now this is his one time, or his last, like, not last time, or I guess it could be his last time, but it's his one true time to show that he belongs in F1. And if you look at Drew Lock and the Broncos, their situation, I'm pretty familiar with it, seeing as how they're in the same division, but they're after Peyton Manning, they have been in quarterback limbo. And so they were bad, and now they're trending up again. Like, it was super close going into the AFC playoffs this year. And so he's not terrible in any sort. But the real question is, does he belong, or should he stick around? Because we had mentioned Drew Lock's direct competitor earlier, Teddy Bridgewater. He got the starting nod a bunch this season until Teddy B got hurt, which then promoted Drew Lock back into the starting role, which he didn't throw away. Like, it wasn't obvious that Teddy B is the starter for a reason. Drew Lock went and performed. just like how Nicholas Latifi, he will perform, but to his level.
Mhm.
He won't ever go past. People knock Drew Lock for not being able to, really be a superstar.
Yeah.
He's a field manager. However, I say this knowing damn well he orchestrated a fourth quarter comeback on the Chargers. But he just has his moments. But it's whether or not Williams should take a chance on Latifi and the Broncos should take a chance on Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Who do you got for Albon's comparison?
So for Albon, I was saying Kyle Kuzma, who is the starting forward for the Washington Wizards in the NBA. They're both on new teams right now. Albon was the kind of coming off similar to Ocon, coming a year off of not racing. He was the Red Bull's test driver.
Yeah, he was their sim and test driver.
Yeah, but he wasn't on the track. He wasn't racing or doing anything. So Williams was was he racing?
No. Quick side note. So he didn't do anything on track. However, if you listen to Max win the World Championship and the immediate voice thing where he was like, "Oh my Lord," that's Alex Albon. He gets nuts. Like he took the mic like on the pit wall and was like, "Max, you've done it." He was going crazy. That's what you love to see, friends who get lit for friends, bro.
Yeah.
But no. Anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
No worries. That's awesome. I didn't know that was him.
Yeah.
But so now he's on Williams' team. He's on a new team, new environment, and hopefully he can kind of go back to
performing again.
Yeah, because he replaced Pierre and was it 2019 that they swapped him, and then he raced a whole year with Red Bull in 2020, but just didn't meet expectation. Wasn't the second driver they really needed for Max. Which is why they went and got Checo. To
be fair, expectations was sky high for that second seat, and that's why it was known as the cursed seat for a little bit. But he people forget that he wasn't supposed to be in Formula One. His career was actually destined for Formula E, but due to Red Bull's weird, not really packed driver program at the time, he kind of got the nod up into the F1 team. But he ended up performing and showing that he can still hang with the big dogs because he raced with George Russell and Lando Norris for the longest time in karting. So he knows the people in the paddock, the other drivers. So he has shown that he does belong in F1. But I hope that the new environment bodes well for him and he does get back into performing, because then that'll offer up another name just to become a journeyman in F1.
And similar to Kyle Kuzma, I mean, he started out his career producing pretty well as a starter for the Lakers, and then big old LeBron comes into town, takes over the show, and his production just fell off. He just couldn't fit into the role that was needed for him for LeBron. So similar to Alex, he just couldn't fit into the role that was needed for the second seat for Red Bull. And Kyle Kuzma got traded away. LeBron's like, bye-bye. I don't need you. I have AD and old Russell Westbrook. But Kyle's producing really well. He's going back to his rookie and second year numbers of production with the Wizards, and they're fighting to be a playoff team. And so Albon's hopefully this year he's going to have a bounce back year. Obviously Williams isn't going to be competing for anything except the top of the bottom three, but
yeah, you never know.
That's true. New car, Williams might be on top again.
We'll see.
Williams #1, baby. Let's go.
All right, on to Alfa Romeo, and I'm pretty sure this is the last two teams have been kind of the last 2 or 3 teams have been interesting with the #1 driver, but this is pretty clear cut. You have the Valtteri Bottas coming over from Mercedes, getting the big old German boot from that whole team, but specifically Toto Wolff's Austrian foot. He booted him out and then got replaced. But anyways, Valtteri's American comp would have to be for me, and this one is, close to home again. We had mentioned Jay Herbo earlier. We're going to pay homage to his predecessor, Philip Rivers, baby.
The family man himself.
Listen, don't ever let anyone tell you that Philip Rivers didn't start a dynasty, because he did. It just wasn't in the NFL.
He created his own offense.
I love Philip Rivers. That man wears bolo ties to interviews. I love it. But anyways, his career kind of mirrors Valtteri. They both got the boot. Philip Rivers, unfortunately, the Chargers front office organization, we like to screw over our vets and are like the dudes who've really did all the grinding for us to get us relevant. We like to just screw them over towards the end of their careers. I don't want to say that's what Toto did with Williams, not Williams, but with Valtteri, but because I think everyone would agree that Bottas needed the restart. It just wasn't a good thing for him. But they both got the boot, but their careers before the boot isn't nothing to scoff at. Philip Rivers, he had a crazy career, whether you like it or not. He's only thing that Famer. I don't know about that.
No, he's for sure a Hall of Famer. Maybe not first ballot, but he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I really hope he is Hall of Fame, just so I can say it is and brag. But if it's all said and done and he ends up getting snubbed, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. But anyways, Valtteri's, his career isn't in the scoff at. He has the wins. Like anyone, I think he has 7 wins or 8 wins total. Anyone with any wins is certified a real one, let alone that many. Granted, his biggest knock is he should have more because he had the car for so long. But just like how Philip Rivers, everyone gives him the credit for having all those like the yards and the longevity of his career, but he never really got there, even though he should have, because he's had the team. He had LT, he had Sean Merriman, he had like the crazy supporting cast. But so in a short way, it says their career up until the point isn't no laughing matter, but also the career up until the point is they forever live in the shadow. Philip Rivers lives in his draft class's shadow, unfortunately, and not even his draft class, because Tom Brady is still considered in that era, and everyone lives under his shadow. Philip Rivers lives under Drew Brees' shadow, because same era kinda, but also the Chargers connection. Valtteri, unfortunately, lives under the biggest shadow of them all, Lewis Hamilton, because Lewis, the last teammate to beat Lewis was Nico, and that was for the championship. So Lewis just ran away with it. People have even questioned if that's why Lewis likes Valtteri as a teammate so much, because he knows he can just walk over Valtteri. But yeah, no, it's tough to say, but Philip Rivers does live in the shadow of Eli Manning, more so Big Ben.
Eli got 2 Super Bowls too.
I don't want to talk about Eli Manning.
And he beat Tom Brady.
He looks like a substitute teacher.
The biggest shadow you talk about, he beat him twice. The only person Tom Brady hasn't beat in the Super Bowl. Nick Foles.
David Tyree and a DN with a huge gap in his teeth beat Tom Brady.
the sack leader for the longest time.
But I guess the final point on both Valtteri Bottas and Philip Rivers is they never won, or they were never really close to getting the big one. Philip's closest thing was when he went to the AFC Championship game against the Patriots against Tom. He played in the game with a torn ACL like an idiot, but like a savage. I'm not gonna knock dude.
Dude, that's badass. That's savage.
But it was a tough game. It was you can, if you go back and watch it, it wasn't a very good game for Philip. No. But that was the closest he's ever gotten. Valtteri's never really been close to winning the drivers. Like I think it was 3 years in a row he started the season off with the win. So
Mhm.
he started with he was ahead, but Lewis just consistently, just never ending, just was there. And it's hard to stop that. Like someone who's just always consistently good. Like Valtteri has had his moments, but every time he turn around, Lewis is right there. So yeah, he was never really close to the big one. All right, that's enough about Valtteri Bottas's comparison. Who do we have as his rookie teammate, Guanyu Zhou's American comp?
So for Zhou, we have the man himself, the MVP, baby. First time. The man that got screwed by Matt Nagy, Big Mitch Trubisky, former Bears quarterback, our future, who could have been our future, what could have been. But now currently former Bills quarterback behind Josh Allen.
Former?
Or not former, current Bills backup quarterback for Josh Allen. Glad he's still in the league. Glad the MVP is still. And if you don't know what that is, it's Nickelodeon Most Valuable Player.
You know how many MVPs Tom Brady has?
Zero.
You know how many MVP Nick Foles has?
Zero.
1.
No,
No. I'm sorry, not Nick Foles.
Mitchell Trubisky.
Mitchell
Get it
Trubisky.
right. Come on now.
Wrong backup. I'm sorry. Wrong backup.
But so anyways, joking aside, the comparison between them is kind of just like, why? Like, why him? Especially when you look back at his draft class when he had the chance to go for Patrick Mahomes and or Deshaun Watson. Granted, Deshaun Watson's kind of like in.
I think that's a bullet you guys dodged.
Yeah, but you never know. Maybe in Chicago he doesn't
change the whole
Yeah.
the timeline.
Maybe
All
Chicago.
because of a Mitch Trubisky draft.
Yeah. But I mean, that's always gonna be his legacy, and like that's always gonna be what the draft class is known of. It's like, why did the Chicago Bears trade so much for a guy that was their starting quarterback for only 3 years and who's now going to probably be a career backup? Maybe he gets a chance somewhere else, but I doubt it.
Even if he does get the chance, I don't think he's that good.
Yeah. But they're and like coming out of his college career, he only had one starting season. He was a backup quarterback his freshman sophomore year, and then had a really good junior year where he was able to somehow convince teams that he was the most pro ready best quarterback in that draft. Yes, crazy to think, but like at the time, that's what all the draft analysts are saying is Mitchell Trubisky was the most pro ready.
Draft analysts be smoking some dope sometimes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I love the videos where like these NFL athletes, like the stars, like the Aaron Donalds of the world, they'll go and read their scouting report. And I'm like, this is literally the opposite. Like, no one's calling Aaron Donald small anymore. Dude is like, he might be only 6 foot, but dude, no one's gonna be like, that's a small man.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, they some of these guys be smoking crack.
Yeah.
But for Guanyu Zhou, that's pretty similar because coming out of F2, he was in it for 3 years. So usually F2, it's not usually, but once you win F2, you can't compete in it again. Like, you're no longer. So it's always not a good thing to have so many years in F2. And he had 3. He had 1 year where he competed, but he still didn't win it. But yet he got the nod for Alpha. So I feel like that's kind of like where you're going with Mitchell.
Yeah.
They had the questionable like career purely off of not performance, or I guess performance, results, and just experience, because Zhou hasn't been racing for too long, and Mitch had a pretty quick career, it sounds like.
Yeah, he joined football pretty late too. Like I think like junior year of high school was like when he like started playing football. So he had a really short career. He only started 22 games in college, which is just like super low, especially for a first round quarterback, especially when you're trading your future. Sorry, yeah, chill.
Someone's a little too invested.
Yeah, I love the Bears.
Tell me you're a Bears fan without telling me you're a Bears fan.
I got a huge flag. What do you mean? But anyways, but yeah, it's just he was a huge risk, and it just ended up not paying out. So I feel like that's kind of the same with Zoe. Is he's kind of a huge risk that may or may not pay out.
And going back to your other point, the why him, there are other savages who deserve like a call up to F1, but
Yeah.
because it's a money driven sport, Guanyu Zhou ended up getting the nod. Like Oscar Piastri, like I said last episode, should get it. Callum Ilott should get it. There's just a lot of different ways that they could have gone, and I'm sad to see that they have gone with the money route. But that's why just the way the cookie crumbles.
He brings in a huge market, the Chinese market.
So it's less of a question on why Guanyu Zhou got signed, because it makes sense with the whole marketing benefits to Alpha and to F1, as well as just a straight up monetary value that both or Alpha and F1 will get. But it's the question lies more on Mitch, because like everyone's like, why the hell are you drafting him over Deshaun Watson, or why the hell are you drafting him over who's the other quarterback?
Patrick
Mahomes. It's like, why?
Because he drove a 2004 Toyota Camry, and our GM was like, you know what, I really like this guy.
This guy is relatable. He's down to earth. I like his story. Let's use a first round draft pick on him.
Yeah. To be fair, Matt Nagy, after being fired and all the stories that came out about him, was just clueless. Nick Foles is even like, you're an idiot. Like, you're so dumb. Like, what are you doing? So maybe with the different coach, maybe with different development, Mitch Trubisky turns out to be more than just an MVP meme. But I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think any team's going to take that kind of risk with him now.
I don't think that ship has sailed.
Yeah,
unfortunately. All right, on to the last team. We had mentioned this comparison in the first episode with the first driver. I'm pretty sure it's clear to say that not Trevor Lawrence. I gave away the first comparison, but Mick Schumacher. Surprise! But yeah, no, Mick Schumacher is the Trevor Lawrence of the F1 world.
Yeah.
Because they're both the next big thing. Mick had his his illustrious like younger career winning F2. Trevor Lawrence literally won in like every time there's a Trevor Lawrence, like, or at least when he was in college, it was he's never lost a game since high school or something, and then he started losing. But yeah, his like
to Bama.
Yeah, that's if your first L in years is gonna be to anyone, Bama's a pretty good guy, pretty good L to take. But anyways, yeah, his junior career was very like, it wasn't a cakewalk, but he had the accolades going through it. But now they find both of themselves on an ass team. Haas, pretty hot ass. I'm pretty sure that's what Haas stands for. Hot ass. But yeah, they're not good. The Jags are not good. The whole, it's not even just a team. The organization isn't good, from the front office to the GM to the head coach. It's crazy. But
the Jags stand for janky ass.
No, but as far as it goes individually, Trevor Lawrence is so sparks of why he was the number one draft pick. Mick Schumacher is showing sparks on why he is so touted. And so it's not questioning, it's kind of building the hype for both of them in a way. because too much of it is a bad thing, but we haven't gotten too much of it yet. We're still building the hype for both these guys, but it's just their hype hasn't gone on streaks yet. It's always been little flashes. Like when Mick was going side by side with Max, granted that's when Max had like half a car, but they were like racing.
So they had his equivalent.
Yeah, exactly. Like half a Red Bull equals one Haas. And they showed, or Mick showed, that he could hang with Max, who ended up winning, the World Drivers. Then Mick, I forget what race it was, but Mick put on a beautiful move on Nikita, and it was chef's kiss. But that's all that was. It was moves, overtakes, or like little battles. It wasn't 3 races in a row where he not qualified, but where he would finish out of place. And by out of place in Haas terms, that means higher up the grid. Because any time that there was crazy things, he would place higher, but it wasn't consistent enough for him to say he got on hot streaks as a rookie. It was still more flashes, just like how T-Law had flashes, but as a team, they kind of just never really went on a streak. And also, they're both rookies.
Yeah, first year, like they still have time to develop and hopefully become to be able to reach the potentials that people set up.
Hopefully, the Jaguars' curse does not ruin Trevor Lawrence.
They need a running back similar to what is his name?
Maurice Jones-Drew.
They need the reincarnation of that man. Trevor.
Just start drafting. If I was the Jags, I would just start drafting running backs off of their like initials. Do you have a catchy initial? No, I don't care if you're from Alabama.
Yeah. Hopefully Doug Peterson is able to help develop Trevor into a really nice quarterback, and hopefully Mick's able to go to a competent race team where their engineers and their team's able to help build a car that can make him competitive.
So specifically speaking of like drivers, engineers, the whole season, Mick and his engineer was like kind of a running joke, because if you go and listen to like the onboards, like Mick will mess up, Mick will hit a wall, and then his engineer will come over with the most soothing, soft, and relaxing voice, and just like calmly talk Mick through it. Like Mick will, like, I don't know if this happened word for word, but Mick will crash, and then Mick will be over the radio. I just crashed. And then the engineer would come on. That's all right, Mick. Just take it easy. Are you okay? Okay. And then he'll like hit him with words of like wisdom, confidence, and affirmation. And it's just like he's getting a vocal hug. And everyone's like, man, if you're having a bad day, you just need yourself like Mick Schumacher's engineer.
Hopefully Doug Peterson can go get Trevor Lawrence some ice cream. That's the thing for him. He's like, all right. At the end of the meeting, he's like, all right,
I got some ice cream. I got some ice cream out here for you guys. I don't want the ice cream to melt.
So let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here.
It's good that they have good guidance.
Positive people around them to push.
To help them.
Opposite of positive is negative. Speaking of negative, Mick Schumacher's teammate Nikita Mazepin, who you have as his American.
Oh, I love that transition. That was great. And negative is exactly who his comparison is. People know him as a dirty player. People hate him. If you're a Bucks fan, you for whatever reason like him. But Grayson Allen, who is a guard, a backup role player for the Milwaukee Bucks, he's one of the most hated players in the league currently. Not only because of what he's done, the dirty stuff he does in the league, but also at his time in Duke, where he was one of the most dirtiest players and just constantly got away with it for whatever reason. Nikita's kind of like in the same boat where
Well, Nikita, I guess Nikita is dirty because he's had his
well, not dirty, but people just hate him.
Oh yeah.
That's
Granted,
what I meant.
granted, the hate is definitely a lot more validated when it comes to Nikita. Excuse me, but for Grayson, like if you like Duke, you like Grayson for the most part, and then everyone else hated him.
Yeah, if he's on your team, you love him.
Mhm.
You're just like, oh, he plays hard. But if you're literally anyone else, you're like, that's a dirty player.
Mhm.
Like, why are you defending him?
Yeah, and then for Nikita, he's had his run-ins in F2. Like he had a thing with Yuki Tsunoda, like that ended up getting him penalized for whatever reason. Or I think it was some like messed up stuff. He ended up hitting, you know how there's the boards that they go and park next to?
Yeah.
He ended up hitting it and almost hitting it into Yuki because he was salty.
Oh, really?
So yeah, he has had his like negative incidents too, just like how Grayson Allen did. And so most of their hate does stem from their lower leagues, like I guess shenanigans.
Yeah.
Not necessarily what they've done once they got to the big leagues.
Yeah.
Because so far, Grayson Allen, he wasn't even on the Bucks for like when he first started.
No, he's
like
drafted by the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, so it's been a while for him to actually get a role in it and whatnot. But he's slowly just been another face in the cog, or like another cog in the machine.
Yeah.
Just like how once Nikita has gotten into F1, he hasn't really done anything spicy. Granted, literally right before the season started, he had the whole sexual assault thing. But as the season has gone on, he's kind of tried to hide in the background and just, drive. But he did get all the drivers are irritated with him throughout the season because of like blue flag situation. But that doesn't fall down to just him. That falls down to his engineers too. But yeah.
Yeah. And going back to the more comparison of them is they're both kind of like average players. Allen's a role player. He's not going to be a superstar guard. I don't see him being a starting guard anywhere. So he's just going to he'll be a decent bench player maybe, but I don't see him having like a super long career. And
I see him having a career like Delhi, Matthew Dellavedova. I like he's the hard defensive guard you want to put in.
Yeah.
Who can also like get like a bucket or two.
Yeah. I mean, he can score, but I think he's more so there for defense. I'm not 100% sure though. I'm not a big
Bucks guy.
Bucks fan. Yeah, I'm not a Bucks guy. And also they got memes about them.
Mazepin.
And Allen, after he hurt Alex Caruso going for the ball, the Bucks posted like a good morning post or good morning tweet with him, and that just kind of like took over NBA Twitter for like a couple weeks of like a meme. So he's got memes.
NBA Twitter is, I would say, is more cutthroat than NFL Twitter.
And NBA Twitter is NBA anything is so crazy.
I got crucified for saying Kobe Bryant isn't top 5 player of all time, and the whole NBA world came down on my ass, and I was like, I'm sorry, it's just my opinion. But yeah, so they are both memes. You have the Nikita Mazepin, moniker, and then you had said earlier that Allen had like, I don't know, I haven't seen this picture. Is it a picture?
Yeah, I forgot what he was doing. I think he's like eating a donut or something. But he's also had like other memes like back in his Duke days, and he also had an incident when he tripped, or I think he hurt. Oh, I'm blanking on his name right now. The Atlanta Hawks.
I looked up
Trae Young.
Oh, did he hurt Trae Young?
They had like an incident where he purposely like cut him off. I forgot exactly what happened, but he tripped him, or he stepped on his foot. Like he purposely purposely. It like obviously it's up to interpretation. You can't really tell watching it, but Young went one way and he just stepped on his foot, making him roll his ankle, and I think he's out for a couple weeks.
Okay. No, but I'm looking at Grace. I looked up Grayson Allen memes, and I see one from Karate Kid that says "Sweep the leg, Grayson."
Yeah. He's known for stepping on ankles or tripping.
Yeah. With that being said, that's all 20 drivers and their American comparisons. We want to know from you guys whether we got it right on some of these or how wrong we might have got some of these. Let us know who you feel like should have been compared to. For reference, Timmy and I we're mostly football guys. We're pretty versed in like football knowledge between he and I. However, as far as basketball, casuals, baseball, I don't know about baseball.
More casual baseball,
yeah,
playoff hockey is the extent I'll watch. But
so if you guys have these like sports icons in those sports, the baseball, the hockey, maybe even some what is our soccer league? The MLS.
But you'll probably find better comparisons in the Premier League.
Yeah,
Europe.
As long as they're like still like, you know, in American like reference, go ahead, send us a who do you think belongs, or who do you think is a better comparison?
Yeah.
Yep. Also, I was telling this to Timmy, I wanted to do a Legends version of this, where the legends of F1's yesteryear, the Michael Schumachers, the Ayrton Sennas, the Nigel Mansells of the world, they get the same treatment that these 20 drivers just got. We go ahead and find American legends to compare to them. However, this episode is long enough as it is already, so that'll have to be for another episode. So go ahead and leave in the comments, as well as we have an email. The email would be...
It'll also be on the screen and in the description.
Yes, it'll also be there. And with that being said, any closing thoughts, Timmy?
No, I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and look forward to... I'm not going to see you.
He's looking forward to many episodes.
I'm looking forward for you guys to continue to listen and giving us feedback on how we can be better.
Closing thoughts from me: NFL, no more turf Super Bowls, and F1. So we're recording this as car releases go off. I need more fire, car designers. All right, we've had very mid releases. I need more fire.
You didn't like the McLaren?
We'll talk about this later. No, but I need more fire. With that being said, let's have a good one.
Explain the difference.
Yeah, Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport.